Okay. Now, Flynn has served no jail time. He's out. He faces a maximum prison term of 5 years if the judge rejects him withdrawing his plea. And I said on this program, I believe that case is going to be dismissed. But I don't know anything compared to our next guest, Brett Tolman. Comes to us from Salt Lake City. He's a former U.S. attorney for Utah, CEO of the Tolman Group, wired in to all things justice in America. All right, so let's go down the list. Tell me about the judge, Emmett Sullivan. Now, he is in charge of General Flynn's fate right now. Tell me about Judge Sullivan.
You know, this is an interesting part of it because Judge Sullivan does not like Trump. He does not like Flynn. He has issued some pretty harsh rulings against Flynn and his lawyers. He's expressed some reluctance on allowing him to withdraw his plea. But on the other side of it, Sullivan is also one that has distrusted the Department of Justice. He served on the Ted Stevens prosecution, and he's the one who sort of uncovered all of the violations and reprimanded and caused, sanctions to be filed against the Department of Justice. So he's torn here because he's now being told that the government withheld important information and evidence from General Flynn.
And from Judge Sullivan. So when the time that Sullivan
right.
gave Flynn and his attorneys a hard time, he didn't know about these FBI
That's
memos
correct.
that are setting him up. Just Senator Stevens, his conviction in Alaska for corruption was overturned. Just real quickly, why?
Yeah, they committed error in not handing over evidence that would have exonerated Majority Leader Stevens. And, it was devastating because they purposely hid it. And the judge then made a record that they could overturn the conviction. But in the end, it was too late. Judge Stevens passed away.
Yeah, Ted Stevens passed away. Was that the FBI who didn't turn over the evidence there?
It was the prosecutors. The Department of Justice.
The Justice. Okay.
It was.
Wasn't the FBI.
Yep.
Okay. Why? Do you know why the FBI threatened Flynn's son, what they had on Flynn's son? Because that's why he pled guilty, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. They were looking at they were looking at General Flynn for two things. One, a Logan Act violation, which was making contact with an official head of another state, another country, prior to being in office. And so they were looking at that. They were also looking at rules that require you to register as a foreign agent. General Flynn had an intelligence company that would work to gather intelligence across the globe. His son worked with him. So they started to imply that they would investigate his son for failures to register and to meet technical requirements under what's called the FAR, the Foreign Agency Registration Act.
So people need to know, once the FBI starts investigating you, you have to hire lawyers. That costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. It bankrupted General Flynn. His defendant himself bankrupted him. And then he didn't want his son dragged in. So that makes perfect sense. My second question is that Vice President Pence told President Trump that Flynn misled him in a conversation. So Pence told Trump that General Flynn did not tell the truth in a conversation. Do you know anything about that?
I do. I think that the vice president was reacting on a combination of what he was hearing being reported about General Flynn. And take it a step back, Bill, and look at what he's being accused of is in the transition from Obama to Trump. He has contact with Kislyak. Russia's upset that they've received sanctions. They've been given notice that Obama, on the way out, leaves a Trojan horse, basically, for the new administration and is going to impose sanctions on Russia that they didn't want. General Flynn indicated to Kislyak that he was going to look into it.
And Kislyak is who again? Kislyak is who again?
So he is, at the time, his position is the counterpart in Russia. So he's I don't think he was ambassador at the time.
So
Maybe he
he's
was
a
ambassador
national
at the time.
security advisor to Putin.
Yes,
Big guy.
yes,
Okay.
correct. That's right.
So there were
Very, very
sanctions in
high up.
place. There were sanctions in place by Obama administration. The ingoing Trump administration was being lobbied after Trump won the election to get them off. And then somehow Flynn got involved in all that before they took office. That's the quote unquote Logan Act, which has never been used to prosecute anybody. All right. Now,
Right. So Bill, they actually go to Flynn, and the FBI already has the recordings. They already know what he said. So then they set the trap like you've talked about, which is exactly right. Well, the vice president gets word that the FBI has him cold, that he had engaged in inappropriate conversations. Flynn's comeback was, I told him we'd look at it. And we would make our own decision on those sanctions. Trump's going to be a new administration. So I think when Vice President reacted, I think he recently has indicated that it may have been more a crime of omission than it was him trying to mislead
and
the Vice
we
President.
certainly weren't there. We're not making anything,
Right.
any pronouncements on this. We just have to raise a question journalistically because that was
Yes.
that pushed President Trump over the line. That conversation with Mike Pence. Now, the reports are that Donald Trump does not like the FBI director, Christopher Wray, doesn't think he has reformed the agency quickly enough. I believe those reports are true. I can tell you with authority the president is not favorable to Christopher Wray at this point in time. All right? He doesn't believe that Wray is aggressive enough in correcting the obvious wrongs that exist within the FBI. Is Wray a bad guy in your opinion?
He's not a bad guy. I would put him more similar to Comey in that, feels like he's got sort of the upper hand intellectually, and he's certainly pedigreed. I would expect, and I do believe that he has been the one that has been opposing DOJ's current attempts to get to the bottom of what happened with Flynn, and that alone
that makes him a bad guy, in my opinion.
That's right. That alone.
And I think
is
Comey's a
something
bad
that
guy
justify.
too. Right. If the FBI is stonewalling the Justice Department defining corruption, I'm sorry, that doesn't help the United States of America, Brett, at all.
Yeah,
Does it?
and they're not even just stonewalling. They're actually misrepresenting. They're claiming that those notes of the FBI did not need to be turned over. Now, I'll tell you that
that's
doesn't even pass the
ridiculous.
smell test.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, last question for you. Durham Report blows it all wide open, either going after the FBI with indictments or shutting it down, saying, well, they really shouldn't have done it, but we're not going to do anything about it. Number one, when is the Durham Report going to come out? Our audience very, very interested in that. And number two, do you have a prediction?
Yeah, so the Durham Report, I am told, is going to be this summer, and that is what they're shooting for. And I will tell you my couple of predictions, one in the immediate. I think you're going to see in the next day or two the Department of Justice file a motion in the Flynn case to dismiss the case. And they're going to do it based on the fact that when he was interviewed, DOJ had already indicated that they did not think there was a Logan Act or a FAR Act violation. So he couldn't have materially misrepresented. I think that is their strategy. I think that they will file that and it will be a bombshell filing. Then I think it will fit very nicely with what Durham, hopefully, he's looking at. I'm getting pessimistic on whether or not the Department of Justice officials or FBI officials will be held responsible in a meaningful way, but I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope that there might be indictments on individuals who were at the heart of what was really some awful conduct and criminal conduct, in my opinion.
Well, I think the guy who wrote that memo is going to get indicted. But I agree with you, Comey and McCabe, the top two will probably escape. All right, this summer we'll look forward to it. Brett, you got anything else? Let us know. Brett Tolman, everyone, in Salt Lake City, one of the best guests on Justice in America.